It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum.
Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, the number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. And I'm back to you with a quick update episode in regards to some recent news. I am a little behind on this one, I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, I have been on holiday recently and so I've not been able to cover this news live as I usually do. So there's some important projects that are going to be starting, or the actual tendering process for those projects is hopefully going to be starting at the latter end of this year. So we have one potential project in Austin and one in San Antonio, which has come a little bit out of the blue. There were some rumours, but it's good to see that the Boring Company is pursuing these two projects, which are very, very close together. I think that potentially there is a lot of kind of open minds, as it were, in Texas, open to new ideas, open to investment from Tesla, the Boring Company, and various other tech companies. And I think that this is the perfect place to be building tunnels and small mass transit systems, which eventually will become large mass transit systems. So, the cities of Austin and San Antonio are reportedly in discussions with the Boring Company on connecting the downtown areas to the airports. So for both, you will see the actual downtown area connected up to the main airport, which is reasonably close, but not really close enough to kind of cycle or walk. So something like a Boring Company system or loop system would be perfect if you could average over 100 miles per hour. Elon Musk Boring Company is fresh off launching operations of a functioning tunnel loop system under Las Vegas Convention Center. So we've had the success from that project that's ultimately led to more people becoming interested in these potential loop systems. It's said to be in talks with the cities of Austin and San Antonio, so they might well be playing one off against the other, seeing what benefits they can get from each local governments, and seeing if they can maybe get some help there. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think the Boring Company should be doing that. They should be using their own finance and trying to avoid government as much as possible. Obviously, it's great that the local government wants this scheme and wants to encourage it, but what we don't want to do is be going to the government with a begging bowl, as it were. The Boring Company shouldn't be going to the government with a begging bowl, demanding that they help them out with X amount of money. XKN, which is like the local news network in Austin, reports that the company has met with city officials regarding a project that would link up downtown Austin with the Gigafactory Tesla's plant. So the actual airport there, that's just kind of south of, it's kind of more southwest of the Gigafactory, is probably less than 1.6 miles away. So it's a nice little addition to kind of link that up. Currently under construction, southeastern quadrant of the city, not far from Austin Bergstrom. So that's the airport, Austin Bergstrom International Airport. The same is in San Antonio. They're kind of linking up the airport there, providing passengers with a route into the centre of the city. The news station reports that the company has given the city's development services department a high-level introduction to the tunnel system. So, they're talking to the right people. They're trying to persuade people that this is a good idea and that they have the right technology to make this happen quickly and efficiently. So, out building permits such as the project, the proposed loop, according to, would travel through the airport on its way to downtown. So that's kind of the main kind of bulk of the useful information within this article. Obviously, if you want to hear more about Boring Company news, I would recommend using Teslarati. As always, it is a great news source. Discuss potential tunneling projects in Austin and San Antonio with city officials. Again, at KXAN. Also, that tunneling company pitched a project in San Antonio about to local officials. So one thing to remember as well is San Antonio and Austin are not actually that far apart. So it might be worth in the future connecting both cities. If you can average over 100 miles per hour and 80 miles apart, I think it's like less than that actually. I think it's like about 74 miles. You're going to get there nice and quick. Much better than the local road network, which is going to be choked up with traffic. Sources claim the Boring Company is in talks with Again, same kind of theme. Not much more kind of meat in the article. Insider, again, very, very much the same. It gives us a detail. It's 10 miles long. So when I scaled this off, I was getting around 8 miles. So it's 8 miles there and 8 miles back. So that'd be a 16-mile system. citing unnamed sources, which basically means that you don't know who it is. Again, it's the same sort of thing. There's very, very little details, and this is kind of part of the problem, really, is that these proposals come out, they say where the end destinations are, but there's no kind of structure as to where the tunnel is going to be routed, under what highway, what the station's going to look like at either end. We're probably going to end up waiting 6, maybe even 12 months to get that kind of information. The same goes for Fort Lauderdale. We don't have the information what the station's going to look like, what is the exact route. We have a kind of a good idea about where it's going to start and possibly where it's going to finish near the beach, but we don't know exactly. And it would be great if the Boeing company would release kind of a plan that we could look at and kind of scrutinize prior to reading this on these kind of news articles. Another thing that very, very interesting. So we have our project in San Antonio, we have our potential project as well in Austin, but we've now become aware that this plot of land that they purchased in I think that's correct how I was saying it, Bastrop, just outside of Austin, is becoming their kind of development site for TBMs, or at least somewhere where they can fabricate TBMs. I'm not sure if they've actually started digging tunnels here. I've not seen any evidence of that, but possibly in the future we will start to see them exploring the local geology in this area. So if you remember from my previous videos, the Boeing company also has its test site in Adelanto, which is in California, and I'm guessing they're going to do the same here, where they have some kind of test area where they can kind of establish which technologies are working best in the machine, maybe swap a few parts around, maybe make some changes to the logistics and see what's going to work well in this particular geology. So remember, the geology is going to be changing all the time in the different areas that they work. Hopefully, if they get doing lots and lots of projects in and around Austin, then they'll get an understanding of the geology and they won't need to have as many of these kind of test sites. Based on the fact that we have this site here in Bastrop and a site as well in California, which is kind of linked to Las Vegas, I guess, I'm going to make the prediction that I think we will see something similar to this in Florida. Now, I don't know where that could be. The kind of land that you can use in Florida is kind of quite limited, really, because you have the kind of the dense cities, and then a lot of the other land is unavailable for development. So they might be able to find somewhere nearby to Fort Lauderdale, but it could be a little bit tricky there. But hopefully we will see that as well. Let's just have a quick look at potentially where these tunnels are going to be built. So I'm just going to pull up an image, and here you go. As we can see, here's our map, as it were. We've got San Antonio here at the kind of center of our screen. Just to the northwest of that we have Austin, and then we have the port of Houston there on the far west. So there's a lot going on in Texas. Texas is very, very much open to the idea of having Boeing company tunnels. It's a very open state. You could use the term red state as well, although it's very close to being a blue state. But there's certainly kind of a bit lax on the regulations, which is great, and they are obviously encouraging companies to come and work here, low tax environment. So it's good to see. Can the Boeing company actually start 2 projects at the same time? That is a very, very good question. There's other projects that they potentially could be starting as well. I think another thing that's worth noting is that they have the ability potentially now to build multiple TBMs, but at quite a small scale. So unless they really want to get started now, they might regret that later in the future when they don't have enough TBMs to do all these projects, or they might end up having to delay these projects. But the theme that I'm noticing is the Boeing company will pitch an idea to a local government, and usually that idea involves linking an airport to downtown. So we've also seen that in San Jose, and potentially we might see this again in Florida, but here in San Antonio and here in Austin as well, and obviously Chicago as well. Chicago is going to link up the airport. So those kind of projects definitely do make sense from an economic perspective. The one thing I'm going to just kind of close out on with this video is please do not get concerned if the Boring Company wins a project in Austin but then doesn't end up doing a project in San Antonio, or vice versa. If the tendering if the negotiations don't go to plan and that both parties decide to walk away, that in itself is not a failure. Some people on Twitter might consider that to be a failure, but you know, when you're winning 3 projects and losing 2 projects, you know, it's not even if you were losing 3 and winning 2. In my mind, if you then finish those 2 projects on time, on budget, and they provide a very useful mass transit service, and it allows you to gain a further understanding of how to build tunnels and run mass transit, then there's nothing lost, is there? So I'm hopeful that these 2 projects, based on the fact that they are in Texas and it's a very open state, we will see them eventually built. But, you know, anything can happen, and hopefully I'll be able to get... If you do, in fact, it's worth me saying, if you do have information on these projects, is in the exact route, maybe you have a PDF document, or maybe you just have a drawing of the particular route in Austin or San Antonio, or even Fort Lauderdale, or any other project that has been proposed in the last sort of 2 to 3 months, please do get in contact with me. My email address is in the description section of this video. Okay, well, thanks for joining me on this video. I'm very, very excited about this project. As you can see, I get very excited about all Boring Company projects. It's always a great shame if some of them don't happen, but the ones that do happen, like in Las Vegas, are ultimately brilliant successes, and we should all be extremely happy that the Boring Company continues to push. These are a lot bigger, these projects, as well. As you noticed over time, the projects are going from 2 to 3 miles to 5 miles to 7 miles. This project in Austin potentially could be up to 11.7 miles. So that's going to be, you know, 2 tunnels. That would be sort of 23.4 miles, wouldn't it? So these are big projects. So it's great to see the expansion moving in that direction, that they feel confident enough that they can do that kind of size of project. Okay, well, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And remember, don't be boring. I will see you on the next one. Take care now. Thank you and goodbye.